Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at Epic Illustrated number 21, continuing our scholarly examination of this fine magazine. Having said that, this is by far the worst cover Epic has ever had. This is by George Bush. We have seen George Bush earlier in Epic. He illustrated a short story in the first issue, in fact, and maybe the third or fourth issue he also illustrated a story. He's not a comic artist. He primarily would do romance and Western paperback covers. But the art in those two stories that he illustrated were pretty good. It was some nice photorealistic, whatever, art. This is wretched. This looks like the art that would be on the side of a van. This looks like the art of like a high school senior, maybe a college art school kid, but just even if it had a good composition and interesting subject matter, it's just poorly drawn. It's just, it's so bad. I'm just, fortunately the art inside is better. For the most part. Yukon Jack is still with us. It's a good client. The overview. Here we have a new chapter of Generation Zero by Pepe Moreno, Jungle Trail. And they've crash landed in this, kind of jungle area. Not quite sure in the world where we are. Maybe South America? Who knows? It doesn't tell us. But they encounter some natives there. And we can really see Pepe Moreno's art shine here. I love this, him drawing these natives of this place. They're beautiful head pieces and their facial makeup. This looks really good. Unfortunately, like I said many times, the writing's not very good. They think they're at this giant wall in the middle of the jungle. It turns out to be a giant snake with two heads. But Juan Falcone throws a hand grenade in one of the mouths and blows it up. Really good art and colors. Just wish the writing was up to par with the art. The snake takes off. And they're still exploring through this place. Maybe it's the Amazon. They're trying to find a new homeland because their little haven in Iceland, it's just there's no room to expand. And it looks like they found it. They go over this mountain. It looks like there's some Mayan ruins, and they see this beautiful valley that's untouched by the poisonous fallout of the nuclear wars. So we'll see what happens next time. I really don't care. Here's another Dr. Watchstop, little funny little short. Once again, drawn by Ken Macklin. This one is the story is by Torrin Smith. Torrin Smith went on to do tons of manga translations and published lots of manga. One of the earliest guys to bring manga to America. Here's another hard science, basically a joke. But I mean, this science is hardcore. I think Torrin Smith is probably a scientist, probably studied science. And it's basically he's explaining to a student about how this one guy's theory, Martin Brock, he came up with this theory about electrons, shmata. Sorry, I'm not good with science. And Dr. Watchstop, though, thinks that he found a flaw in his massive formula. So, he's going to basically do this thing like erase an electron, which could, according to the Martin Brock's theory, would destroy the whole universe. But since Dr. Watchstop thinks that his theory was wrong, had a flaw in it, he's going to erase that electron and prove that he's correct, because the universe won't be destroyed. But he fucked up, and we see this big white panel, and Dr. Watchstop's last thought is, of course, it could have been a typographical error. So the little flaw he found in Brock's formula could have just been a typographical error. Here we have a Charles Vess short story, full color this time. The Age of the Dragon. So we see these dragons flying around. Pretty nice, interesting art. It looks like he's learning how to use color, Charles Vess. Up until this point, has been pretty much just black and white, a black and white artist. We see like maybe one of the last humans, for all we know, tries to like ride a dragon, like lasso it. And the dragon's trying to shake him. And finally he does, and the guy plummets to his death. That's it. It's pretty slate. It's just nice seeing some Charles Vess art. This is, we've seen this collaborative team before. B.K. Taylor, the writer from National Lampoon fame. And drawn by James Fox, who is a paperback cover artist. And they collaborated on a tale about, I don't know, 15 issues ago. I think it was called Survivor, maybe. This one's called Recruiter. And this one we see like an office building. All these typical guys are like totally sexist pigs. And this beautiful woman gets on the elevator and they're just saying really rude stuff to, to her, hitting on her. Just being chauvinist assholes. So two of the guys get off, and the other guy's all like, all right, it's just you and me, baby. So she hits the stop button, and she throws him against the wall and says, you loathsome, low-life son of a bitch. He draws the woman really well, but these guys just look kind of off. Something weird about the way he draws their faces. And she turns into this like barbarian lady. And she pulls out her sword. And she reaches in his pants and she's like, all talk, just as I thought. I was hoping for a warrior, but you're not even man enough for the arena. I don't know how she can tell that by the size of his penis. I guess men with small penises can't fight well in gladiatorial combat, perhaps. I don't know much about gladiatorial combat, so it could be true. I don't know, yeah. Of course, I'm being sarcastic. So she, like, swings her sword. It looks like she's swinging right into his crotch. And it magically takes his clothes off, and he's plummeted into this chamber, probably to the salt mines. That lead to the salt mines, and he's going to slave away forever. And then it can't be an epic story without an ironic twist at the end or foreshadowing. So we see two other sexist pigs talking about their conquests. And the elevator door opens, and who should it be? So I guess this barbarian princess just goes around office buildings on the elevators, getting these guys to work in the salt mines. That's very silly. Here we have a total article slash, it's really an advertisement, for two new Marvel graphic novels coming out. The Futurians by Dave Cockrum and Super Boxers by Rod Wilson. Both look pretty unreadable and crappy. Ugh. And they turned them into nice, fancy graphic novels, too. Even just as a normal 4-color comic, that would be kind of a waste of paper, but... Here we have the second chapter of Sacred and the Profane. Once again, we start with a diary entry from Mariana, Sister Mariana, the nun. So they're being attacked by this alien ship. Last issue, we saw this guy, Brother Joshua, who's kind of like the crusader. He basically kind of started the conflict by attacking the ship. And his superior is trying to get him to calm down. He's like, we don't want to start a war here. So Joshua runs away, goes over his head, and goes to one of the bishops who run the mission. And he basically convinces him, he's like, you got to give me the go-ahead. Me and my men are going to take care of that ship. So the bishop agrees, and they take off in their, whatever, fighter ships. And this thing has got like giant tendrils, and they're cutting through the tendrils, but the tendrils are too strong. They keep replicating. They rip their ship, or at least attack their ship. And then Brother Joshua just goes outside into space. And he's going to take a more direct method, a more direct approach. He goes inside the alien. I guess he has an orifice here, because it's like an organic ship of some type. And he sees something horrifying. You just hear him saying, no, Jesus Christ, no. But they don't show us what he sees. This continues on page 92. So then the ship flies in to come back to the, the main ship. But it's like, kind of the engines are fucked up. And so it comes in, overshoots and crashes in the hangar. This is a really interesting, I've never seen this in a comic storytelling technique. I guess Ken Stacy wanted you to read against the flow that you're normally used to in a comic. Comics always left to right, up to down. But this kind of works, even though for a second I was almost wanting to go over here. But then I was like, no, that doesn't look right. This curve, your eye is supposed to go like this. And without any arrows or anything, it kind of works. So that's just interesting, a new technique in the storytelling arsenal. Oh, if you ever want to go against the grain, make your panels look like that. It would have really helped if this kind of panel kind of flowed into this one. That would have been totally perfect. But yeah, it really works. Interesting. I should mention this is written by Dean Motter and drawn by Ken Stacy. Once again. And Ken Stacy obviously colors it. This is so Ken Stacy colors. He would just, in the 80s and 90s, he would just color stuff. He wouldn't even draw. Sometimes they just hire him as a colorist because he was so good with color. So, Sister Mariana, I guess, is also a combat nurse. Or just a nurse in general. So they call all, personnel down to the hangar, like nurses and doctors. So she suits up and runs down there. And they tell her what's going on. They say one of the pilots is injured here. The other one died on impact. But we can't find Brother Joshua. And she says, thank God. She kind of tips her hand. Because it's so obvious. She's in love with Joshua. And then Joshua just flies into the hangar with his jetpack. Doesn't say a damn thing to anyone and just walks away. And everyone's like, what the hell just happened? So we'll find out next issue. Pretty intriguing chapter. I can't wait to read the next chapter. Even though in two different forms, I've read this series twice. I read this when it was in Star Reach Illustrated as a youngster. And then I read this too. So I still forget how it ends or what happens. That was a long time ago. Here we have James Romberger back. He did a strip about 10 issues ago. A very kind of poetic strip. And once again, that's what this is. But this time, this is actually a poet, Ray Jadwick. I assume he was a friend of James Romberger, and he was like, hey, I'll illustrate this poem. I like this poem. This is some really nice James Romberger art. Excellent stuff. This is called The Condora. And it's a poem. I'm not quite sure what's going on in here. It seems to take place in a more primitive world, though. But this is nice right here. I'm waiting for a virgin to come to seduce the skies, and for a mother to kiss her baby as the last man lifts and flies. Just to give you an example. So apparently this Condora is some kind of god who's in human form. You know, taking advantage of his human form, having sex with various women. The Condora, thinking of Hitler as the first real rock star. He whispers so not to be heard, I am the Condora. Now show me why I am here. So whatever, it is what it is. It's a poem. But man, really nice art. And I'd rather read a obscure, whatever, opaque poem than some hack story. So here's Sunstroke by Michael Kaluta, writing and drawing, which is kind of rare. And this is like just almost like a crazy kids comic. Very fun. And we see this crow dude, and he's pulling a giant airship, and these kids are teasing him. And then we cut away to this old, like, crippled guy. I think he's got either one leg. Yeah, he's got one leg. And he's talking to this bird guy. Not a crow. Some different kind of bird guy. And he's talking about how in his younger days, I think it was during a war or something. And, you know, he was in an accident. That's how he lost his leg. And apparently there was some crow involved. And he says, if I ever catch that crow. So by coincidence, this old man, I guess, has been waiting his whole life to throttle that crow for something went wrong that he's responsible for, I guess. They don't really tell us what. There's some really nice, fantastical Michael Kaluta art. I just love all the character designs and yeah, this is nice. It's giant panel. So the crow climbs up to his airship. The old man with one leg is all ranting at him, and he pulls out a gun. And his bird friend is trying to get him to stop and calm down. He shoots his bird friend. That's how, you know, animated he is and nuts. He grabs the ladder to the airship. He's climbing up. The pilot of the airship jumps ship. He's like, I'm out of here. This is too crazy for me. It's just such crazy. Like, I love this crow guy. Such an interesting character design. So the guy fires. The old man with one leg shoots his gun, blows up. The airship explodes. And it crashes to the ground. Kind of a strange little ending. This is Marooned. Once again, we get more Kent Williams art. In the editorial, it said that Kent Williams, all these comics he's been contributing to Epic. This is like his fourth little comic strip for Epic. He was still in art school. Hadn't even graduated yet. So I guess, you know, Epic was getting all of his stuff. He probably didn't even know the business. But he had this in at Epic, so it looks like they published everything he sent him, so it worked out. The story's by Joe Duffy, the associate editor and longtime Marvel mainstream writer and editor. And this guy's been marooned from his pirate ship. Really nice art, as you can see. Ken Williams just keeps getting better and better at his painted style. And he's just railing just how he's going to get his own ship. And he's going to just attack everyone on the 7 seas. And especially the guys who marooned him. He's going to get revenge. Nothing's going to stop him. He's got fucking fire in his balls. And then all of a sudden, these aliens come out of nowhere. Well, he just thinks they're monsters or something. Really nice art here. These monsters come out, and luckily they can speak English or communicate psychically, but they tell him that they've been marooned from a spaceship. They've been marooned on Earth. And they basically decide to team up. They're both bitter peoples. So they're like, you'll be my crew, and we'll, whatever, ravage the seven seas. So that's how it ends, him making this vow. Here's the last chapter of The Mythology of an Abandoned City by John J. Muff. This chapter is called Fade to Gray. Once again, beautiful penciled art. Yeah, I think it's all pencils. So we have that secret agent guy who's in enemy territory. He's in the enemy city. And he's just a lot of panels of him thinking about basically what happened in the past few issues. And thinking about the two characters we've seen killed in the first two episodes. And I guess he's coming into the main tower where the voice, the floating head, he's the leader of, the enemy of our agent's country. And his second in command is the Sleepwalker. We've seen him. He's the guy who looks like a mime. So as the secret agent is like kind of going up to confront the voice, I think he's going to try to assassinate him. He's thinking about how, the reason why he's so motivated and he hates this enemy so much is because they sent terrorists to his country, his city, and they blew up a bomb during like a concert, and it killed his wife, who was only 24 at the time, his wife Adele. So of course, ever since then, he's hated the enemy. He's been very motivated to be a secret agent and fight them. But then who should he see when he walks in? It's that woman we've seen in the first two episodes, who the Sleepwalker took with him. It's Adele. He's all like, oh my God, I've been given a second chance. This is my wife. She still looks 24. She still has the roses in her hair, the petals that I put in her hair the day she died. So it doesn't, this is like a very kind of artsy-fartsy comic. It doesn't really make sense. It doesn't explain why she's alive and living in this enemy city. So he confronts the voice. And they kind of have this philosophical debate. And the secret agent kills him. He's worried that Adele's going to, not love him anymore. She sees his violent side. So they run away, and they're heading for this section of the wall where Division, that's the guys he works for. That's the name of the, his spy group. They're going to arrange an escape. But then the Sleepwalker intercepts them and shoots him. It looks pretty fatal. And then Adele picks up the gun and shoots the Sleepwalker. And for some reason, right then and there, he realizes the whole thing. It was some vast conspiracy. So Division, his side, they just wanted a new leader over at the enemy. They kind of planned this whole thing. They wanted him to kill the voice, but not the Sleepwalker. The Sleepwalker was going to take over and continue the war. Because basically, just like us in Russia and us and everyone else, its war is profitable. And they want to keep the war going. And the voice was starting to talk like a peacenik and be like, yeah, we should stop fighting. So they didn't like that. They were like, we got to get rid of this guy. And we'll put in a second in command who does like war. And the wars will continue. And we'll keep making lots of money. So he escapes over the wall with Adele. So I guess he's not dead. It was only a flesh wound, I guess. And then we just have, that's it. That's the stuff we already saw. So there you go, Epic Illustrated number 21. Oh, God, that cover. So this is a blight on the whole history of Epic Illustrated magazine. I wish I could just rip it off. And so there you go, Epic Illustrated number 21. Whatever. It was a good, decent issue. There's definitely been better. There's been worse though too. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you return here to the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.